Hi, everybody. Welcome to, I think this is podcast number three, with Erin and Steve and me, Pete. Yeah, we were just having a quick chat before we hit the record button on things that we can talk to you guys about. And one of the things that came up for us, and it actually came up from one of the comments on our YouTube video from the last podcast, was this topic of kind of needs versus wants. Um, so what we mean by that is basically, what are the things, throughout your life that you feel like you really need to have? And a lot of them are material things. A lot of them are non-material things. You need a relationship, you need friendship, you need, basic wants and needs. Versus what are the things that we genuinely as human beings need to thrive in life? And where do you draw that line between wants and needs? So I think that's an interesting thing to get us started with because I've got a few examples of what I can contribute to this. But what do you think, guys? What any thoughts to get us kicked off on this one?
The thing that comes to mind for me is particularly on where does a need become a want. Um, I look around at a lot of the things that I've got surrounding me, and a lot of it's bought to make life a little bit easier. But would I be able to survive without it? And for a lot of things, yes, I certainly could. So it's trying to distinguish between what's essential for survival. So air to breathe, food, water. I think as human beings, we all need relationships. We need to connect with other people. But then in terms of possessions, do we really create like a thin layer of stress for ourselves by chasing more and more? Because you tend to find that once you've actually obtained something, if it's a want rather than a need, the novelty soon wears off. When you buy that new thing, maybe your expectation was that that would make you happy, uh, actually possessing that thing.
Mm.
But very soon, the novelty is worn off and you're on chasing the next thing. So, was it really essential in the first place?
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, you could also look at something like that. We could move into it as like you might pick something up. It might not be necessarily something you need right now, but it's something you want. But down the road, you might value that a little bit more, or you might need that. So that want then becomes a need in a way of direction of material products, right? So like if you need something, you're picking it up at an earlier date, but then it kind of drifts into your zone to have that availability for you to have that now. But sometimes, that's necessary, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's overstocking or just overproducing something, even stress in that case. I like to bring it back to, even simplicities with my daughter, like when we're out shopping. Like, do you need this? And it's
yeah,
a good lesson for myself as well because do you need this? And it's just kind of really just checking yourself. Do I really need this or want this? And obviously materials things, food, housing, those are necessities, right? But you can bring it back to that simplicity, like you're out shopping. Do I want this that badly? And
yeah.
can it be spent somewhere else? Especially the material side.
It's really you bring that up, Erin, like kids, like, my daughter, she's 11 going on 12, going on 21. And she same as you, like she wants things, but the things that are just, after a couple of days, it's just going to be sitting on the shelf, like not used at all. But then she wants something else. And I think that the addiction to wanting, for me anyway, as opposed to needing, is it's not about attaining the thing that you want. It's about chasing the thing that you want. You feel better when you get something because you don't need to chase anymore. You don't need to want anymore. So it's that kind of satisfaction of having it. but that's that because it's not grounded in something that's really deep inside you, like a need that, very sometimes very quickly, the that desire to chase something comes up again. And and then you get addicted and start chasing the next thing. For me, it's hard to describe the difference in the feeling, but like for things that I feel like I genuinely need, it just feels deeper than that. It feels like it doesn't feel temporary. It feels like it's always there. It's not like an addiction. It's kind of this just compelling urge to, I don't know. I don't know. It's more like going with a flow as opposed to trying to get something where there's an end result, like friendship. Um, that's always something like you never achieve that and then you're okay with it. Do you know what I mean? It's always like it's just an underlying desire to just be in that flow. I don't know. It's hard to find the words because it's not really something I can describe, but does that make sense? It's like there is a subtle difference, I think, between the two.
Yeah, it's that one. It's not tangible yet, right?
Yeah,
When it's there, it's like, okay, I've achieved. It's kind of like the journey, destination, trying to get to your goal,
yeah.
your
There,
personal.
there- yeah, there is no there's I guess there's a general kind of North Star, right? Like we all want to be, you know, satiated kind of with food. We all want to be satiated with friendship and family and but that's an always an ongoing thing throughout your entire life. Whereas the car, the holiday, the house, the clothes, like they feel like short-term grabbing onto something because you desire the chase. So it's almost laid on top of that fundamental desire to have the things that you genuinely need as a human being, yeah, that's what it's intangible, but I can feel it. I feel the difference.
Suppose if we maybe look at the extremes, it might help uh, put that distinction in place.
Yeah.
So at one extreme, you've got the absolute needs, as we mentioned, and referring back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, talks about shelter and food, all those survival necessities. But then at the other extreme are the wants. So maybe the status symbols, the flash car, the big house, all the rest of it. Well, in terms of survival needs, you need shelter, but do you really need the big house? Maybe it's essential for you to be able to get around to support your lifestyle in terms of getting to work and all the rest of it. So you need a car, but do you need the flash car? So it's kind of, and what drives that desire for the bigger and better? Are we starting to get into the realms of ego there?
Mm.
Is it your ego that's actually driving that desire? And to what end? Who are we actually trying to achieve that for? Is it to make ourselves feel good? Is it to make us happy? Well, as we've already mentioned, that's not always necessarily the case. That's a temporary feeling when you actually achieve what you're aiming for. What do you think about
I was
that?
just thinking, sorry, go on, Aaron. Sorry, I'll jump in a sec.
Go ahead, Pete. I got some coming. Go ahead.
Okay. It just made me think that when you were saying that, Steve, is that if you think about anything, I could be wrong here, so just bear with me on this one. Anything that you want, if you think about why you want it, they all lead to one place, right? So let's say I'm just thinking of example. I want to get married. Why? Because I want to have kids. Why? Because I want to bring up some kids and have them, be going to pass on my family and so. But why? You keep asking that why question, right? Or like, I want to get married. Why? Because I want to be with someone. Why? Ultimately, it's not even I want to be happy. It's I want to be okay. I just want to be okay, right? So like when we were cavemen and we were looking for and women and we were looking for food, We weren't looking for food to gorge and always be eating all the time. We just needed to be okay. We didn't need to be in a sauna or in a ice bath. We needed to be just in the middle, okay. So I think that if you think about anything, you want the car because it gives you status, because you want to travel to go to work. Okay? But and you can work it down from any scenario. Maybe just think about, or to the folks listening to the podcast, think about anything that you think you want. Even if it's, I want to rob a bank. I don't think anybody robs a bank because I want to be evil and I want to be, and even if it is, that makes you okay. Now, in a demented way, maybe, but I think we all just need to be, we all desire to be okay. And when we're not, and our ego might take us out of that by saying, like, I need to have a Mercedes or something, right? Um, it's always a desire for peace,
Mm.
not to be disturbed anymore,
Mm.
you know? I don't know. Because sorry, Aaron, go on. That just
No, that's like I love it because that's where I was thinking as well. Like, what if you just eliminated all your wants and you just lived on needs, right? And you didn't have that option anymore, and you just lived your life on your needs. What would it look like? How would you live? What would be different for either one of us or any of us? We wouldn't be out there doing the things. It's like a metaphor of like needs are a compass and scenery is our wants, right? So if we cut out the wants as the compass, we would just wander through the scenery, enjoying being okay, like you said, right? And like really, I mean, if you really thought about we just lived on needs, what would it look like? How would you
yeah,
live?
yeah, yeah. Where we don't have this, society's impact where it is, kind of chronic comparison, isn't it? You know?
Is it is it that dramatic if we did that? Like it would be if we cut the wants out, right, immediately, but then if we eventually, worked ourselves into our daily lives, like without it, what would it look like? How would you live?
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? How once check. Yeah. I was thinking that's funny. Because if you think about like if all your neighbors start to get I keep using car analogies because I like cars, but like all your neighbors starts to get luxury cars, you'd feel the pressure to get a luxury car, right? That just becomes a want for you. That will make you feel better, just feel better driving out with your Mercedes when everybody else is driving out with their Mercedes, right? If your neighbor decided, you know what? All your neighbors decided, I am not going to go luxury anymore. I'm going to buy the cheapest car because it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter about my ego. I'm just going to drive the cheapest car that I can. And they all bought cheap cars. You would feel a desire to have a cheap car, wouldn't you? You wouldn't want a
Wait.
Mercedes anymore. So how about that? Well, that's for me. I probably would feel like that. So how about that? You're like your wants are. This is just dropping for me now, but your wants are very much tied to how you compare yourself to other people. And to your
Mm.
point, Aaron, like when you don't have those wants, there is no comparison. Like again, going back to cave people, we weren't comparing ourselves to Ugg in the next cave, who just got a bison and I didn't. You're just trying to survive. Um, so yeah, that just occurred to me. These wants are fickle things. They're just thoughts, you know.
Yeah, what came to mind for me there was that we're all still tribal. We have this need to fit in, and to a certain degree, like you say, if everybody else has got the cheap car, do you really want to stand out?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so park my car next to an expensive car in the car park. If somebody's got a desire to actually nick a car, are they going to nick my cheap car or the expensive car?
Are you gonna actually care?
Or would you care? Yeah, yeah. But I think the message to me that I'm getting here is that that's actually, comparing yourself to others, we beat ourselves up about that, right? Like I want this because somebody else has it. But I think it's a natural it's a human instinct, right? Because again, going back to your tribal thing, Steve, right? If you stood out from the crowd, if you weren't part of the crowd, you would probably die.
Mm.
you have to be part of the tribe because you protect each other, right? You'll sit by the fire and the lion's going to get the one on the outside or something, right? If you're sitting by yourself on the fire, it's going to get you, you know? So we shouldn't beat ourselves up too much, but just know that that's a lot of the time, this is what it is, you know? Like I used to have be a like one like watch, a really expensive watch, right? Which is pointless. Looking back now, is stupid. But I know it's because the people I was working with at the time had expensive watches, and I wanted to fit in. Otherwise, the saber-toothed tiger was going to get me, you know?
And is that trying to fulfill their expectation of you, or what you think their expectation of
I
you
think
is?
That's
Steve,
pretty
knowing
cool.
what I know now, mate, it's my expectation because they didn't care. They
Yeah.
genuinely didn't care.
Everybody else is too busy with their own stuff, aren't they, to really notice?
And the options we have, the availability of all the abundance that we can choose from, that's enhances our wants towards more, right? We want more. We want to consume as much as we can and fit in
Yeah,
or just kind of consume. You know?
yeah, yeah. But do you think that applies to needs?
Hmm.
Do we do we compare ourselves to others based on what we need? You know, like Steve, you mentioned we need shelter, for example. Now we might look at somebody with a bigger house than us and say, well, I want a big house too, but that's a want. The fact that you have a roof over, just the fact that you have it, I don't know. I don't think you compare that. I don't know. Maybe there was definitely a difference between wants and needs.
Yeah. One thing that's just come to mind relating to the question that we were asked in the comments, there was kind of development of the wants and needs discussion around the impact of prioritizing one over the other. And something that's just come to mind was in terms of like those basic survival requirements. Um, do we sometimes prioritize those desires over our health? Our health is very much part of
Mm.
our essential survival need, but maybe we push ourselves in our career, we dive in and and subject ourselves to all kinds of stress to maintain this lifestyle of wants at the expense of our health.
Mm.
And I don't know if that was the implication in the question, but that was just something that came to mind just now. Health is more important than anything else. I think there's that saying, without our health, we have nothing.
Yeah, with our well-being, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you found out that, you know, you had a year to live, would you do anything different than you're doing now? Hell yeah. Yeah, I would. I would do different things. So why don't you just live? Why don't we live like that then? You know, why don't we live that freely where it doesn't matter, you know? And I know that's idealistic because I think, certainly from my personal experience, when I think back a lot of the wants that I've had in my life, some of them were wants that I wanted, but a lot of them were other people's. They
Mm.
were, well, my belief in other people's, like, you're this kind of person, so you should have this kind of car and have this kind of house and these kind of clothes. And when that's fiction. That doesn't, it's just a false, like the ego image that you have of yourself is just a false image, really, just created over all these experiences that we've had, but it's not real, you know. But I think a lot of these wants that I've personally had were other people's, um, my expectation of other people's. Um,
Isn't that part of the tribe though too? Because we see like
yeah,
going back to that, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, where do you feel met? Where do you
yeah,
feel
and yeah,
community?
I agree,
Mhm.
Aaron. But the key is, and that's why I don't think we should beat ourselves up over these things. But the difference is knowing it,
Yeah.
knowing that that's what it is, knowing it's just your mind, just playing this movie to you, saying, "Oh, you should. Why are you driving a Ford when you should be driving a BMW?
Mm.
Oh, that doesn't look good, Pete. That doesn't look good." Fiction, total fiction, just a movie you're watching. but you believe it. So you go out and you buy a car for probably more expensive than you can afford, and you cause stress to yourself and your family and paying them car payments and I don't know, all of that stuff. Um, I think there's lots of people who are caught up in the expectations of others and trying to live that way, which, like I say, is like there's an element of like that's just the human condition. But when you know that's what it is, then you can decide what you want to do, you know? Yeah.
So how do you break that? How do you see that within yourself at the time of all this happening? You know what I mean? Like that's a
Yeah.
tough thing to
Yeah.
kind of come into when we sit there and we're live and active in the moment and we're really just trying to survive and become our own person, but we're surrounded by all these cars and watches and houses. And how do you break that like at a young age? So like, someone can hear this message from our perspective of being like, we live that, but how do we move into raising that awareness of the younger generation so they can go, hey, thanks guys. Like what can we tell them? Because that's hard. That's really hard to break when you're in the middle of it.
It is because it's a program that is programmed into us from a very young. Even my daughter now is like, I want this, I want this, I want this. Why? Because Ailva has it down the road, you know,
Right.
and 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 that's just the start, that's tip of the iceberg that grows substantially as you get older. Um, so and can actually drive the direction of of some of your life, your entire life. That's why so many of us, me included, find ourselves at a certain point in life saying, "What the heck? How did I get here? I never wanted to be here." Well, it was never you like in control. You were always being bounced around by other people's, your perception of other people's ideas. So I think, Erin, to break it is difficult, but I think, as I said before, for me anyway, is just knowing the mechanism, knowing how this works, that when you want that car and you need that car, otherwise people will be disappointed in you. That's just not true. It's not true. It's a voice inside your mind telling you that that's the case based on all of your kind of past experiences, based on a ghost. So, and I know the three of us have kind of been through this journey where we've realized this. And for me now, I know it when I'm actually ironically looking for another car now, and I'm like, oh, I'd love to get a Range Rover. I'd love to get like, can't, I don't really want to, I can't afford it, and I don't really want to buy it. But I hear that voice. I'm like, I don't believe you. I don't believe you.
Yeah.
What do I? Okay, I need a car from get from A to B. I probably don't want like, a junk car that's going to break down. But what do I need? And don't reverse ego it and say, I'm going to get a really cheap car because I'm spiritual and that's what I'm going to do. No, get a car. You're a human being. Get a nice car, but
Yeah.
but know that that desire to get the best car is just it's just an echo, you know? So I know, Aaron, it's not easy, but just knowing how it works, I think for me was half the battle.
Yeah, I think it's that recognition of all of that conditioning that you've mentioned there. The conditioning, the beliefs you've built up over time, your values, and we very rarely take time to stop and review them. But all of those inputs, programming your autopilot, and I think sometimes we need to think about turning the autopilot off and actually engaging our brains again, rather than responding as we always have. Is take a moment and think, I have free will to make a new decision based on new thought here. Is it what I really need? Is it what I really want? And
That,
taking that moment just to make a conscious decision rather than a knee-jerk reaction based on everything that's gone before. Maybe that's the case. Like you said, it's about recognition and knowing that that is what's going on.
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
something fun. There's something fun about the wants though, right? There's something, and
Oh
life's
yeah.
boring without the wants. And like if you really think about it, like that whole conversation about needs, it's like, wow, it's like I don't have any fun. It's like, but that's survival, right? That's kind of like going to the cars. Do I want a fancy car? Yeah, like it's the human experience. It's part of what we
Yeah.
can do now. We live in 2026, not 1950, right? So there's more options. There's more opportunity to drive a nicer car, to have different, variations or whatnot. But it's kind of funny because like that funness of life seems to drop away when we don't have all these wants and options. And same Pete, I just went through the car buying option as well. It's like, do I want that? Do I
Yeah.
want this? Do I want to put myself into debt as well? Or have a big payment where it's like, well, I don't really want that. I just want to be even and something that's fun that meets what I need, safety, reliability, like those types of things are what I need, but I also want to have a little fun, right?
Yep.
It's just like you want to have
Yep.
that little entertainment.
Yeah, I think it's as always, it's this balance, right? And again, this is part of the human. I believe this is part of of being human is that
Yeah.
you balance. You have to balance things out. You of course you have wants and you also have needs,
Mhm.
and it's always this kind of juggling. You have to always juggle. Like, oh, God, can I? Do I? What? Um, but again, if you can step back and see that that's what it is. It is a balancing act. That's what it's all about. Then I don't know. We can help. I think it can help you make more informed decisions. I think it can help you see a little bit more clearly as to like, why do I want that? Why is it? Because you could kid yourself and say, well, Mercedes are more reliable and I'll get better resale value. And I bet, nah, come on. It's your ego saying you want to drive a Mercedes Benz. That's what it is. But that's okay. Have fun with that. As long as you know that's what it is.
Yeah.
And then when 6 months go by and you start looking at BMWs driving past, say, geez, I wish I had one of those. You know why? You know? It's not that the Mercedes all of a sudden got boring for you. It's just that you need another chase.
And ultimately, do we end up just exchanging one set of insecure thoughts for another set? The insecure thoughts of,
Yeah.
or everybody expects me to have this car, so I must go and get that. Well, I've got the car now. Everything's going to be fine. But then it's the insecure thoughts of, right, now I've got to maintain that. I've got to keep up the payments, all the rest, maintain the car itself.
Yeah.
So recognizing that it's not going to solve all your problems by meeting one single want.
I always remember, guys. Do you remember David, our kind of mentor in all of the coaching stuff? And he talked about his dad liked to have a drink or two, and he would come home from work stressed, and the first thing he'd do is crack open a beer, and he'd sit in his chair, he'd take a sip from his beer, and he'd have a big sigh like, "Oh, that's better." And
Mm.
David quite quickly latched on. I know you guys know this, but for the purposes of the audience, that he quickly latched on that uh, it takes a bit longer than a few seconds for a mouthful of beer to get into your system and have you genuinely relax. It wasn't it wasn't the beer that was making him relaxed. It was the fact that he wanted the beer and having a drink satisfied the want. So the relief was not wanting beer anymore because he had it. It wasn't the effect of ethanol in his bloodstream because it was a few seconds in. That always struck me as like, yeah, wow, what a profound example of needs versus wants there. Like you just really felt like you needed a drink. And I'm sure this is the case for lots and lots of people out there, or you needed the food. But it's actual fact. We survived for thousands of years without alcohol, right? It's not that. It's again, same as the cut, it's the chase, right? You felt like you wanted it, and having achieved it, you don't have the stress of the chase anymore.
Yeah,
Always that well, always sat with me that one.
I like that. Yeah, that's a good one. I love that story. Like hearing that, like it makes you really count your blessings with your needs, right? And being able to sit around the table and be thankful for it and be grateful for what you have. And I think that's forgotten about. It's not taught as much as it used to be, or if it is, just even sitting with your food, that's helps prepare you for that understanding that that is abundance, you know.
Yeah.
That's a necessity, that's need, but again, it's not as flashy or lavish, so you know, it's not exciting. But once you realize when you have it,
What
it's
do you think,
pretty.
guys, about, we talk a lot about material things like cars and beer and stuff like that. What about the less tangible things like, you need a good circle of friends. You need to be close to your family. You need to be good at your job. You need to get that promotion. How do we feel about those less tangible things? Do you think the same thing applies to those than the objective material thing?
They can get overlooked for sure. It's almost
Mm,
forgotten about put in the background because they're there. We trust that they're there. The roof, the food, the money, you know, the friends, you know,
yeah,
but it's
yeah,
not always the case.
yeah,
That can disappear in a flash of an eye.
yeah,
I guess that's coming back to those blessings, you know, counting them, make sure that you're very grateful for what you have, you know, and living from a loving perspective, heart space, you know, being gentle on yourself when you don't have the car just because you didn't get it, you know, that's the need, you know, coming back to that Ford. But yeah.
yeah. But I think that can apply, the way I think about, I don't know, something less tangible like friendships or something like that, or relationships. Um, I think for me, a big difference is like you're less in control of the more intangible things, So, if you have a group of friends and then one of those friends says something that is, I don't know, disappointing to you or something, um, they weren't supposed to do that, right? They weren't
Mm,
supposed to do that. They've they've spoiled that relationship now. Um, so all
right.
of a sudden now that like that need has been it's been turned opposite, and it's like, it can be, it can be devastating sometimes. So I think with friends, with fat, and I'm sure lots of people have challenges with family. I think I certainly do. Um, it's kind of the need to, because that is a need to have friends and family, I think. But then also that ego-driven need to control that situation. So my friends will always be like this and they'll never change. My family will always adore me and will never change. That, don't know about you guys, that doesn't happen. Things change. So if you latch on too much to these more intangibles, you set yourself up for disappointment at some point. I don't know. What do you think?
We talked about control in the last episode, didn't we? And recognizing what you can control and what you can't. And as soon as you're involving other people, uh, you're abdicating some of that control. You can only control your own uh, your own bubble.
Yeah.
Once you involve somebody else, you can't interfere with their little bubble. It's not our responsibility to change people's minds. We can challenge and discuss things, but relationships is a lot about that, isn't it? Give and take,
Yeah. Yeah.
and allowing for different opinions. Just because you've got different opinions to somebody else doesn't mean you still can't still be friends
Yeah.
and still maintain a relationship. Sometimes healthy just to see the other side of an argument.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, guys, it's like we live inside,
Mm.
we live inside this internal dialogue that we have. That's all we have is this internal dialogue, really. So, if we get disappointed with what our needs are, like friendship, family, and stuff, we tend to think it's the outside world that's doing it. It's them that's caught. They shouldn't have sent me that text. That's disappointed me now. They've disappointed me, you know. And I think that resonates higher because that's a genuine need that you have. And it's like, oh, part of the tribe doesn't like me anymore. There's a chance I could get thrown out of the tribe and then I'm going to die. So, but again, just knowing the mechanism where that text is resulting in an internal message that you're sending to yourself about how disappointed you are. It's nothing to do with what that person's done. That person is in their own internal dialogue, you know? Again, just knowing that kind of helps, I think, mitigate some of that. Oh God, my friendships are in jeopardy now. I'm in trouble.
Harmony and resolution, right?
I mean, I think so.
Yeah, that's important. That keeps everybody close in a way, just an understanding. No one's here to really hurt anybody. Like you said, it's to be okay at the beginning, it's part of that tribe.
Yeah, yeah.
All
So,
needs to be
yeah.
part of something.
The
Yeah.
same thing in work as well, right? Like there's many people that I know who they live and die by their role in work. They identify themselves with their role more than themselves. And if anything jeopardizes, and that becomes a need. I need to be an accountant. I need to be a CEO. I need to be whatever, right? And if I'm not that, then I don't know who I am. So that becomes a need, as opposed to a prior want to do well in your job. It becomes a need to happen. Anything that jeopardizes that. If somebody questions you or criticizes you at work, it can have a magnifying effect on you because jeopardizing a need, which is actually not a need, and this internal dialogue to say they did that and they didn't. That's certainly been my case. Absolutely. Where what I thought I wanted, unbeknownst to me, became as important as food, really. I
Even
think if we're honest, I think if we're being honest with ourselves, there's lots of people out there that genuinely, like, that's a strong statement, but I think it's people can destroy, to your comment on health there, and people can destroy their health completely at the cost of maintaining a fictitious need to be someone, you know?
the conversation is different when we talk about wants versus needs. When we talked about the wants, there was a little more energy there. When we are talking about what we need, it dipped, right? Like we got a little more serious, and I think that's the difference between the two is that the excitement level of the wants versus the needs is, that's why we chase the wants, right? That's why we want more. This
Yeah,
is exciting, it's fun, it's
yeah,
lavish, right?
yeah,
It's just cool, right? But the needs are necessities. So we get a little bit deeper, we get a little bit, more grounded with that. And that's okay. The conversation turns, but it's almost like they're in competition, but they're really not. We need them both, right? Just
yeah.
for the expenses of life and just our experience, it's both right there for us, you know.
Yeah, you nailed it, Aaron. Life is about experiences, and as soon as your needs are satisfied, then you put wants on top of that, and hey, have fun with the wants. Just
Yeah.
know that that's what it is. It's fun. You're having fun with it. You're
You're
not.
popping champagne.
But when those wants dip into needs and they start to become needs,
Yeah.
that's just your mind telling you that. That's not true. If you got fired from your job tomorrow, would you die tomorrow? If your house fell in on you tomorrow, would you die tomorrow? Yeah. Yeah. Like it's different, but we kind of live our lives associating ourselves with the person with the nice car, or the person that drinks, or the person that's a CEO or whatever. And when they start to become needs, any threat to them is the same thing as a threat to your shelter or your food.
Mm, mm, yeah. We don't want that. Can't
But
have that.
but most but that's how a lot of people live, right? They come home and they drink a bottle of wine just to get over the stress of the day, driven by this fear that their identity is being
Mm,
the whole identity is being compromised by something that happened at work. Because if everything was fine at work, you wouldn't come home and drink a bottle of wine, probably. So I think that I mean, I'm just speaking from personal experience here, but I have definitely lived, not so much now, but I've definitely lived a life where what I thought was a need and treated it as important as food was just BS, complete BS. And I went through it, right? Because I stopped it. I changed. I removed that ego identity. And you know what? I'm still here. Wow. Still alive. So it wasn't food then, was it? Jeez. Yeah,
Yep.
all kinds of pennies are dropping for me at the moment.
Yep. That's a good conversation. It's a great topic. It's interesting when you dissect it for an hour, right? It's a different view for when than just having it with yourself and looking at what you really want versus what you need. I've never really kind of delved into it, for an hour or have a conversation around it. The way the energy flows and what it really can bring up within you. It's
And and that's the point, Aaron, right? Of us doing this and having these conversations because I agree. I'm the same as you. Like, when do I have an opportunity to have these conversations? And just going through and having this conversation now is making me feel like,
Mhm.
yeah, wow. And I thought I was doing okay. And now it's like another level. Like, wow, yeah.
You're thriving.
There is still many examples in my life where the wants are becoming needs and and sometimes that's fine. And sometimes that's unacceptable to me. And I can pull back from it because I have a choice. I always have a choice.
Well, I want to know what kind of car you're going to get now.
Good question. You know what? We could have a whole other podcast on that. I've been recent. Me and GPT have been talking about cars for the past month now, and I've gone through lots and lots of different. But yeah, we'll talk about it offline because there's lots of conversation. It'll be an electric one anyway. I'm going electric. I'm going to go.
Nice. I love it. Yep. Why not? It's the era. Why not?
That's my excuse. I'm gonna save the planet by going electric. Um, and that
Hmm.
again, that is just, no, I just want an electric car. I just want it. And
But you need a car.
and I know that I do. So, okay.
And you need a car. I get it. I
Yeah.
I would 100%. There's other added things that go into doing the electric here in the States, just because you got to add the electric to the house and do all that. But yeah,
Yeah.
why not? Absolutely. I'm all in. I'm all in for electric.
Yeah. And I don't think it's going to be a premium. I don't want to get a premium car. It's not ego or reverse ego, I don't think. And if it is, then okay, but at least I'm talking about it and I can recognize that it is. So yeah, I might go out. Well, I can't, but if I could go out and buy an electric Range Rover or something, electric, whatever, BMW, whatever. Um, if I'm doing that to keep up with the Joneses, then fair enough. If I know that's why I'm doing it, and if I know that it is a quite a shallow thing, but hey, that I'm a human being, then I think that's okay. You don't beat yourself up. But I think over time, when you start to realize these things more and more when they happen, then for me anyway, it kind of like, you know, it starts to occur to me that, whoa, wait, no, that's just your ego. Don't pull back from that. Pull back from it. You're not that, you know? But I don't go all the way back to like, oh, I should be in a horse and cart instead. You know what I mean? It's like just just walk the balance, you know? It's
We live in a modern world, don't we?
yeah, you have to
And
We
live.
do.
I mean, yeah,
if
Mhm.
part of your buying decision is to fulfill a need to do your bit for the planet,
Yep.
regardless of what all the arguments are for and against, if that satisfies a need for you, then that's important. It's
yeah,
Yeah.
important for you, and to recognise that, and to that Aaron hinted at gratitude earlier on.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I love that, Steve. I love that. Like, right? Yeah, it's still a want, but it's a need. You need a car, but you want the electric. But that's the wave we're moving in, right? That's where automobiles are going and have been. 10 years ago, you might have a different feeling about that. Like this is a real want. Like, it's electric. It's bougie. It's moving in the direction, right? We are officially there. Like we just have to have everybody else buy into the electric cars, and moving into fully electric. So there, like I wouldn't feel any guilt towards purchasing an electric vehicle at this point, especially if it's available and it's affordable and it's still a need, right? You need a vehicle. You got your
yeah,
kids. They're young, they're travelable, and you're not putting money in gas. Like there's a lot of good values like to having an electric car, like I love it. Like and it's just the wave of what we're moving into. So it's
yeah.
just that tribe moving into, that new phase of living. I think it's perfect.
You know what,
Don't
guys?
give it up.
I just realized what we're doing right now is a great example of, I'm gonna say what guys talk about, but obviously girls can talk about it too, is that we're talking about something, we're talking about three guys talking about cars,
Hmm.
but the word ego is coming into it. The word want and need is coming into it. Do you know what I mean? So for those guys out there, and sorry, and girls too, but like for this example, it's three guys talking that, you're not going to sit down in a bar with your friends and start talking about spirituality straight away or anything like that, right? But if you start talking about cars and then start talking about wants versus like this is one of those conversations that kind of spill over into something a bit deeper without having to feel like you're exposing this like, oh, what's my life all about? What's my meaning and purpose all about? Sometimes that's just a bit too much too fast. But topics like this are things that you can start to go a little bit deeper than you would talk about. Like we didn't start talking about, kind of battery capacity, motor speeds, or fuel injectors. You know what I mean? We were talking about it in the context of like, do I really need this? Do I really want this? What do I need? Do you know what I mean, guys? It's just trying to,
Metaphorically.
yeah, just metaphorically, just these examples of where you could start to spill over the things that you want to talk about from the things that that you need to talk
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, there you go. Wrap it up. Let's go.
uh, yeah, geez.
Yeah. It's all right there. Yeah, for sure. It's a little bit of an easier conversation because it's relatable. It's a
Yeah,
little bit magnetized and it's more universal. So it's easier for everybody to kind of engage in, right? Just
yeah,
have that softening of the mind, softening of the heart, that understanding that it is real, it's deeper than just ego, it's gratitude, it's blessings, it's the needs, it's bringing it back down to what we really need in life.
yeah,
That's friendship, community, food, roof, you know, but they
yeah.
can be lavish, right? We can have fun doing that as well, just as long as we keep it in check.
And keeping it in check is just just knowledge, just knowing the mechanism, just knowing how it works,
Yeah.
And we know this, guys, but like this is how it works. These things are. It is again. I'll just say it's a movie playing in your mind, and there's in that movie theater there's an exit door.
Good movie.
It's
Yeah.
always open, you know. Um, but and when you know that, I don't know. And the more and more I think you kind of think that way. I don't, for me, the easier it's become for me to say, spot it in the instant, right? It's like, oh, whoa, Range Rover. Nope, no, I don't need that. Don't, I genuinely don't. Like, I know I don't. I know that voice is like, your next door neighbor just bought a Range Rover. You can't be driving around in a Ford now, my friend. Yes, you can. Yes, you absolutely can. There's no reason why you can't. It's a voice. Now, you may choose to go buy the Range Rover, and that's fine, but at least you heard the voice. You stepped back from it and knew what it was. That's helped me a lot over time. That just becomes something that I can hear it.
As long as you're making those decisions based on your own thoughts and not the thoughts of your neighbour.
Yeah.
The thoughts of your neighbour are none of your business, just like your thoughts are none of their business.
Yeah, yeah, and they don't care anyway, Steve.
No.
They don't care.
You are the star of your own show.
They don't care. How will they feel if I drive down the road in an old banged up Ford? What will
Mhm.
they think of me? Nothing.
They won't care.
Nothing.
Mhm.
Just the voice. That's all it is. So, wow. Okay, guys, this has been a really good topic. I don't know, is there anything else
Yeah.
you want to add to it? We're coming up for an hour, well, 50 minutes or so. Um, I think this has been, for me anyway, guys, like I didn't realize how deep we would go in this conversation. It's actually helped me. It's
Same.
practically helped me.
Good.
Yeah, good. Same. Same. Yeah, I didn't know where it was going to go either. In fact, I was a little confused at the beginning of how it was going to actually turn over, but it's yeah, really solid. Yeah, really, really solid.
And that's how these conversations go, right? That's what we want to do. We just want to, there's no path, right? We just start walking and see where we go. Any final comments, guys?
I think it's just a reminder to everybody watching. Love to see your comments, hear your questions.
Yeah.
But please like and share the podcast and the channel, just so we can get this word out to as many people as possible.
Very
Really
true.
appreciate you taking the time to listen to what we've got to say. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you guys. We're getting some good attention from it. So there's obviously folks out there that, you know, enjoy listening to this kind of stuff, and while those people are around, we'll carry on doing it. So thanks, guys, and we'll see you for the next episode. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Thank you.